How many people have died over the past 18 months without being able to see their friends, see their loved ones, see their family because supposedly of COVID policies? I mean, it's heartbreaking and it's cruelty. It's not justifiable. It doesn't make sense. I'm also seeing what's being going on with children who, again, amazingly, I think, I mean, if this virus was running through children and just killing tons and tons of children and young people, we'd really be dealing with something terrible. But we know that children are not at massive risk from this. We know that statistically, the flu is more dangerous to children than COVID. We know this. This is factual data. People saying follow the science. Let's actually follow the science. No one prior to this year was advocating for children to be masked in schools and to be socially distanced and sitting in plexiglass and doing all of this weird stuff because of the flu. And this is really trying to placate neurotic adults. It's not care and concern genuinely for the health and well-being of children, or if it is, it's certainly misplaced. And so when I'm just seeing all of these policies, that's why I speak out so much. I just feel compelled to speak out about it because some people are doing it, but not a lot of people are not. And I genuinely believe that the downstream repercussions of this for our society, our societies, could be very, very dangerous and and irreversible if we're not careful. I feel like, you know, a lot of people are kind of running down this collective cliff and are not thinking. They're just sticking to one narrative, and they're just, you know, listening to the one or two experts that they've been told to listen to. They're not questioning anything. In fact, they're being punished for asking questions, and people aren't looking up and just going, okay, what's going on? But I'm ever the optimist. I do believe in the human spirit, and I think that more and more people are. There have been so many inconsistencies and hypocrisies, and they've kicked the can down the road so many times now that I do believe that people are waking up to this. You've got people who went out, they say, oh, you know, they got their vaccine, you know, they wore their mask, they stayed home, they wore their mask, they got their vaccines, they got their second doses, they did everything they were told they were supposed to, and then they're being told that they should still stay home, or they should put their mask back on, or they should do this, or they should get another shot, and they should keep getting it. So I think everybody, everyone has a different breaking point, I guess. Some people eons ago, more than a year ago, were like, okay, like I'm not really buying into this. But I think even those who were very, very compliant with it and concerned about the initial threat at this stage are sort of looking up and thinking, this doesn't make sense. And also the people telling me that I should be doing all this, we're also seeing them not following their own rules.
So I want to agree with you. You've clearly thought deeply about this. So you seem to be suggesting that there is a point, and it's imminent, it's coming up soon, where people will say, you know what, now you're telling me I have to have 3 shots? You know, it's too much. You don't know what you're doing. I'm not playing along anymore. Yeah. You actually think large groups of people will start to say that?
I do think so. I think that it's important to, I think conversations like this are also extremely important because they give people space. It shifts the Overton window a bit and it gives people space. Right now, if you talk to people on an individual level, a lot of people, again, regardless of, you know, someone's socio-political views or their thoughts maybe back in February 2020, most people on an individual level recognize that a lot of the policy and a lot of what's going on doesn't make sense. It absolutely doesn't make sense. And if you speak to people individually, they'll recognize that in private. What's going on, though, is with human beings really being, you know, we very much consider ourselves individuals, but there's a large herd element to human behavior. People don't yet feel safe and comfortable necessarily expressing that publicly because they don't want to be that one guy who's there like, does this make sense? Everyone knows it doesn't make sense to walk into a restaurant. I mean, globally, right? Let's take one silly policy. This whole thing of someone walking into a restaurant with a mask on and then walking a few steps to their seat and taking it off, and everyone's eating and drinking and laughing and joking without their masks on for hours, and then they stand up again, put their mask on. That's pure theater. There's nothing scientific about that. It's absolute nonsense, as if COVID only exists in the doorways, or it only gets you when you're standing up. Absolutely unscientific, and this happens all over. It happens all over the world. Everyone I've spoken to agrees that is absurd. It doesn't make sense, but most people still do it. So I do think there will be that point where, just as we fell into this very quickly, And if you look at human behavior now compared to human behavior in January 2020, people are doing and saying a lot of things that would have been unfathomable back then. Just like people slipped into it very quickly, I think there will be another tipping point back in the opposite direction. You're also seeing that a lot of the doomsday predictions are not manifesting in the way people claimed. In Europe, for example, you had countries like Sweden. You had a country like Sweden, which they never shut down. They never had a mask mandate. They fared, I believe, statistically better than somewhere like the UK. If you look in the USA, if you look at the different states, you got 50 different states. Look at places like Texas and Florida. I mean, you'll remember back in was it March, when the Texan governor dropped all of the mandates and restrictions, and the response was, wait 2 weeks, you know, everybody in Texas is gonna get sick, everybody's gonna die, da da da. It didn't happen. Texas is fine, right? So, and no one goes back and goes, no one holds the people who said that accountable. I mean, Joe Biden himself said it wasn't what Neanderthal thinking. There's Neanderthal thinking, you know, they're saying everyone's gonna die, and I've just been in Texas, and Texas is fine. It's very free, it's very open, it's normal.
Oh, it still exists?
Yeah, there's still people there, unless all my friends are dead.